Bazoo. Hello. Welcome back to Elden Ring Nightreign. Here, we've got an Executor and a Raider, and we are playing Recluse. This was actually my first ever expedition as Recluse, and I'm just gonna say it now, definitely a top 3 Nightfarer for me. I'm normally not a big fan of spellcasters, and I basically never used any form of magic up until Elden Ring itself, but Recluse, there's something special about him, which is very strange to say, especially considering there are no blue class to restore FP, but here, gold pickled foul foot for increased rune acquisition for a small period of time, and also we landed directly on top of a church. Like, you cannot have a better spawn. And yeah, I didn't go into the training thing at all. So I had actually never done any Recluse gameplay at all. Outside of like a minute of running around the round table hold, not attacking or using abilities or anything like that. So how her character ability worked, no idea. I know now, but at the time, didn't have the slightest clue. All I knew was that it was something to do with magic, and I figured that I would just figure it out as we went along in the expedition. Not a great mindset to have in a co-op game, and yeah, as you can see, me punching, that was me trying to figure out how to do the thing. I forgot that you needed to hold the interact button and press it. But figured it out, and here wanted to slurp up some more magic, but then I throw out a thing, and at the time I was so confused by that. There, maximum stamina, because the other two options didn't look that good, and stamina is very good. But yeah, I didn't know about that. So I mean, I'd heard about it, but the thing where you send out magical spoodoos, that's what I'm calling them, that's the official name. We all know it. There's no point in denying it. But I'd seen one clip of sending stuff like that out, and I just assumed that was their ult, and I thought that the character skill was just slurping up FP. So that was new, and I still hadn't figured it out completely. Like, that was every 3 slurps. But by the end of this expedition, I would have figured that out. So don't have too little faith in me. Here, decided to drop our basic starting one for one that does rot. And I was looking at it, and I mean, it does rot, and it has a higher sorcery scaling, but I don't like the spells that it has. Here, bought 2 Starlight Shards because FP, very important. But, as I always do, there was an Erdtree avatar, and I kind of wanted to fight him, but I was just going to stick with the team. I didn't realize the team went underground into a cave, and so I was very confused for a moment. But then I realized, oh, they're in a cave. I'm not going into a cave. So I'll just stick up top and try to figure out either where they're going to end up, or go somewhere that I want to go and just meet up with them later. Here. Successive attacks restore HP. Very nice. I like that. I love anything that gets me HP that doesn't involve sipping a flask. Why? No idea. But I just love alternative forms of HP regen. But there, they were making pings, and I thought, alright, the team is back, they're out of the cave, and I can meet up with them again. But yeah, I wanted to fight the Erdtree avatar, I just also wanted to stick with the team. But here, dropping down, I got my wish fulfilled. And I didn't realize that I had 3. But here, I decided just to see what the ult was. And getting HP and FP back upon every attack, or just about, was very cool. I liked that a lot. And I mean, very easy skill to do, helps the entire team. Who wouldn't love it? Besides the enemies, of course. But here, one teammate went down, another teammate went down, and one of them figured it's not worth it, and they just started pinging to get the attention of the class. And I didn't entirely disagree with them, because we'll look at their health bar and then think of how we had 2 downs already. So we figured we'll leave, maybe come back when we're stronger. For now, let's just keep on moving. Because there are some things where, if you're determined enough, you can beat it. Here, I just wanted to see if that was the boss, and it was not. But there are some things where you can beat it, given enough time. But in Nightreign, you only have a limited amount of time. I saw them and got very scared because they have a crossbow that shoots 3 bolts. And they're not just normal bolts, they're explosive bolts. And even someone who has a lot of health, like Wilder, can be decimated by getting hit by all 3 bolts. I had a Raider match where a single one of those nearly killed me, so yeah. Here, I saw Elden staff and increased damage negation, and I figured I already have 2 stabs, and I'm somewhat of a minimalist when it comes to weapons and gear in general. I like to have as little things as possible, so that way I'm not flipping through 87 different things. A good example is the hot item bar slot that every Souls game has, where you can have, I think, like 10, and some people, you'll see they'll have like 8 or 9 different things, but I never have more than 3. There, I saw Ancestral Spirit Horn just for the quickest of seconds, and I thought that he picked it up, and I got kind of upset about that, but then I checked, and I had it. And yeah, every enemy you kill, you regain FP with that. And that is such a good thing for any spellcaster to have. Not useful in bosses, it's completely useless in bosses actually. But just going through an area, especially with a bunch of small, just like trash mobs, it's so good. And so, I was very happy to get that. And here, we ignore all the enemies, because by far the best part of these locations is the boss at the very top. And it can either be a guardian golem here, or a crystallian up the stairs to our right, behind us there. Personally, I prefer the guardian golems, they die much faster. And in this game, you need speed. And here, that secondary effect improves sorceries. I was very happy with that. And I figured it gives us a melee option in case we run out of FP or don't want to use FP. And just having that as an option, that's good. Up here, there's some stabs, and that. Here, Elden Orc Staff, because it had a higher scaling, 144 compared to the 122 we had. So I dropped the 122. Shatter Earth isn't as good as Great Glintstone Shard, but I wasn't using Great Glintstone Shard. However, I was using the sorcery scaling, so decided to go with that. Because I can just spam Glintstone Pebble. And just continue on. I mean, as I saw the room there and kind of freaked out a little bit. But as a recluse, I was very happy to just sit back, throw out my little magic concoctions, use all my FP to throw out sorceries. And here, another Elden Orc Staff, but this one has a jewel as Moonblade, or raises potency of sorceries and incantations. And I liked that better. And then this, HP restoration upon attacks, and a Star Shower. And I really liked that, so I went with that instead. I mean, HP restorations on attack, that's so good. Really appreciate that. As I said, I love FP regens in any and every way that isn't you sipping from a flask. But anyways, I don't know if it was the end of this expedition or some point in my second time playing Recluse, because as of this voiceover, I played Recluse twice now. But somewhere from this point in the gameplay recording to the end of the second Recluse expedition, I got into a rhythm where I would spam my sorcery, and then once I ran out of stamina, I would do the character skill where you absorb some FP from the enemy. And I mean, I've only done 2 expeditions with Recluse, so I'm not an expert by any means. But just as a pretty casual, casual Nightreign player, because I've beaten a Night Lord, I'd say 15 or so times, like 10 or 15 times. And I played around like 22 to 30 expeditions, I'd say. Somewhere around there. So, I'd say I'm a casual player. And as a very casual Recluse player, I'd say that of using my entire stamina bar in order to use sorceries, and then use the character skill to get some FP back while waiting to get your stamina back as well. That seems like a decent enough, like, gameplay loop for the combat. Another way to do it is not when fighting bosses, but when fighting a group of enemies, is to use the character skill to absorb FP right as an enemy is dying, because they do a small animation before running out. There, I popped the gold pickled foul foot to get more runes. And then here, the only one that was useful to me was this final one, which makes it to where when you walk, if we show that off, you get a little burst, and then a little glintstone rain comes down. Now here, the other two ran into the fire, but I wanted to wait a little bit because, as you can see, it very nearly killed them. And they're more combative Nightfarers. They're more physically sturdy, I suppose, compared to Recluse. And so, if it nearly killed them, it would definitely kill me. And so I decided better to be safe than down a flask. Can't really say better to be safe than dead because it wouldn't have killed me, but better to be safe than down a flask. And here, just group of enemies in this encampment, and there were 3 knights to take out, and with the 3 of them done, I was looking at these and thought, none of these are good, but I guess I can pick that one up, and then I can just drop it later on to see if either of my teammates want it. There, just wanted to make sure that Raider wasn't going in a different direction. And the team decided on a new direction to go, so off we went. Hit up the Site of Grace very quickly on our way, because that gets you your health, your FP, and your flasks back. And then we made our way up to this thing. And at a distance, I couldn't tell what it was. But once I got close, I realized it was magma worm. And I simply failed to dodge. So I was kind of embarrassed by that. And here, almost died, but Executor came back to save me. So I appreciated that. And from here, I remembered, you gotta give them a bit of respect. Magma Worm they're not super difficult, though they're pretty fun to fight, but you do need to give them a bit of respect. And here, because of the thing that I threw at him, the magical concoction, constantly applying small bits of damage, I could just keep getting FP back because of that, even though I was out. And then there, teammate dead, but boss was also 1 hit from death, so grabbed that. And then I thought, Azure Comet and Night Shard is pretty good. So I'll drop the Rotten Staff, because I'm not using it. And I can use that for, like, a big enemy or boss. And here, I heard of this, so I went for it. Killed him, and thought, Taker's cameo, that's very nice. And what that does is it gets you HP for every time an enemy dies. So now we had the perfect duet. Every time an enemy dies, we get HP and FP. And the raider ran off to where I dropped the other talisman, so thankfully he got that, or at least saw it. And I was just looking at the sorcery scaling going, 192? Pretty good. But I was trying to see if it cost more FP. Because in base Elden Ring, Azur's and Lucet's Glowstone Stabs cost more FP than normal Glowstone Stabs. But it didn't say there, and I just wanted to see, but I couldn't. Here, raises potency of sorceries and incantations, yes please. And over here, there's a church. Now, that being said, in a slightly later expedition, the day after this one, and in fact the day of this voice recording, I picked up another weapon, Serpent God Curve Sword, which, just like Taker's cameo, gets you HP back every time you kill an enemy. And I picked it up because in base Elden Ring, it gets you HP every time you kill an enemy, but it didn't hear Nightreign, and I was severely disappointed. But because that doesn't have its secondary effect, I don't think Lucet's has its secondary effect of costing more FP. But here, big boss, so I decided to pop Comet Azure, decided to pop that, and that allows us to continuously get FP back. And here, Royal Revenants, if you don't have any healing spells, are pretty scary. So, very glad to play Recluse and just to sit back. And here, Lucet's Glowstone Staff. And Stars of Ruin is one of my favorite spells. In fact, in normal Elden Ring, Stars of Ruin is one of my, 5 main spells. I only have on 3 at a time because, as I said before, bit of a minimalist. I don't like to have too many things to cycle through. But I have around 5 or so spells that I do cycle through, and Stars of Ruin is one of those. It's a super good spell. In case you don't know, it fires like 12 projectiles in quick succession. Very good for enemies that will dodge as soon as you attack. Here, Radagon Icon improves casting speed, so I decided to drop that because I knew that it would be useful for my teammates for the time being, but it wouldn't be useful for like a boss. And expeditions always end with 2 bosses back to back. So I figured better to be prepared for then. But here, boost physical damage negation, very good for someone with less health. But here, just normal combat going up against enemies. Tougher enemies, mini bosses, but still just enemies, and they die just like any other enemy. Although, that one didn't drop a purple examine thing. I'm not sure what they're called, but the things that bosses drop. Because some mini-bosses drop them too. Or like exceptionally difficult enemies. They didn't, but they give a good amount of runes. Like we have 100,000 on us. Which isn't crazy, but it's pretty good. And here, oh, we found another one. And yeah, that was half my health bar in a single attack. So, decided to just sit back, do what spellcasters do best, cast some spells, and be very afraid of anything that could possibly smack me. There, raises magic attack power. It said for affinities, so I don't know if that works for, like, sorcereries as well. But it was the best option there, so that's what I went with. And here, as you can see, we were kind of just destroying everything. And it felt great. And Godskin Peeler, less likely to be targeted. That caught my attention. Here, decided to drop that because I didn't want it. And moving on up the castle, I saw this and went, I'll just take this instead. And didn't realize that I had to go around. But I got there eventually. It took a minute, but I got there eventually. And I pulled this out because at the time I didn't know if less likely to be targeted meant that you had to have it in your hand or just have it on you. And there, check the map to see if we had enough time. But yeah, basically everything has a secondary effect, but some, they work as long as you have the weapon in one of your 6 slots, but some only work if you have it in one of your hands. There, tried to leave because I figured we're not winning this, but didn't work. That's unfortunate. Deathray birds are one of the most dangerous bosses in the entire game. Like, they unironically scare me more than Gladius. But with that being said, 1 level and 160,000 runes down the drain. That felt very unfortunate. The 2 of them ran into the castle because they really wanted those runes back. But I thought, that's not worth it. It sucks going in at level 9. Sucks losing 160,000 runes, but oh well. Here, Godfrey icon, which enhances charge spells. And I figured that could be useful because you can charge Stars of Ruin, but gaining FP back from killing an enemy isn't going to be useful for the bosses. And there, 1 teammate died, and I went, yep. When you run into a castle that's pouring fire and rain, yep. That's just how it is. But pulled out Lusats because Stars of Ruin is very good. And keep in mind, every time you die, you lose a level. So, teammates lost 2 levels there. And I knew it wasn't worth it. So I decided to skip out on it. And that saved me a level. Unfortunate that I died with 160k and wasn't able to get it back. But that's a mistake that I made and have not made again. Both in that I'm better at leveling up, and if I see a death rate bird, I just book it. And they're the only boss that I run away from because... oh, yikes. Here, decided to pop that right at the very beginning, so that way I could have it again for Gladius. Or whatever Night Lord we were going up against. Because once you've beaten one Night Lord, then you unlock others, and you can choose to either go up against one, or you can choose multiple, and there's a chance that you can get any of them. And I think that's really good for people who are just wanting to get into a game and not caring which Night Lord they fight. And it's good for people who just want to get into the game to help people. Here, teammate went down, so pop 2 of those to get him back up, and ran away from the fire. Figured I can pick that up with boost rune acquisition. Since the dragon pushed me here, might as well, right? And then here, through that, and just kept lobbing out Star of the Ruin and then picking up FP. And that was a very good system because the amount of FP Star of the Ruin took was almost the exact amount of FP we got back from our character skill. Meaning, even though it took ever so slightly longer, thanks to the character skill animations, it also meant we were losing almost 0 FP per cast, which is very, very good. And that's how we killed the Ancient Dragon with more than half our FP. And here, all 3 of these are good, or at least the top and the bottom ones. But I decided to go with more FP, and then we headed into here. And making it to day 3, we could level up, and it took almost 50k, meaning I could have come in at like level 12 or 13, but that very unfortunate death meant we're coming in at level 10. There, bought 2 Starlight Shards, and there, I saw that our Raider's health was declining, and I went, oh my god, he ran back into the castle. What an idiot. And I was kind of just waiting for him to die, because I figured it was going to happen again. But he either got what he wanted, or he turned around, because his health stopped going down. And here, decided to pop It's Raining, the pre-order gesture, and he had it too. We were pre-order buddies, and Recluse started doing this, and I don't know what that was about. That was weird. But looking this way, they weren't doing it. Looking back, they started doing it again. So it was like, it was only happening when I was looking towards the front of Recluse. Don't know why. Super weird. But Raider finally made his way here, and so we started pushing this door in so we could make our way towards the final boss. And in a few parts, I'll start skipping this cutscene, because you can skip this cutscene, but you need all 3 people to skip it. And at the time, I didn't know that, but in a few parts from now, I would start to skip it, just in case my team wanted to. And if they didn't want to, we would see it. But here, a teammate immediately got picked up, and just started throwing out Star of the Ruin. And I figured, instead of wasting time slurping up the FP and the character skill, decided to back up, and I got just enough distance for that. But I thought, instead of wasting time doing the character skill animation, it would probably be better to just spam Star of the Ruin and then use Starlight Shard, because you can pretty easily and cheaply get 4 guaranteed in a single run by yourself without teammates dropping any. Just by buying 2 in either day 1 or 2, and then buying 2 in day 3. And popping a Starlight Shard, you get a good chunk of FP back almost instantly. So you don't have to wait for it to slowly regain over time. Here, got our ultimate art, so I decided to pop that. And then backed up to be safe, popped another Starlight Shard, just to have near full FP. And we started the spam fest again. And it was kind of hard to see with all the visual clutter. But Star of the Ruin is so fun, and it's powerful. And with them down, we popped its raining, be it Night Lord felled, and a victory. And with that, we had 2 good teammates. It was kind of stupid of them to run back into the rain and die, but ah well. And those basic relics, I'm just ignoring those from now on for the end of an expedition. I'll look at them afterwards, and then any I don't care about I'll sell. But just in that post-game thing, I'm skipping them. Now here, in a somewhat future part, I'm going to look at all of these and give my thoughts on them. Just not yet. But Dawn is probably going to be the first thing I get, and it costs 14k, I have 12k, so we're very close. And I was super excited for that. But for now, I'm just going to keep doing the journal. I want to get at least 3, maybe 4 pages for every character before I look into that and the wardrobes and the remembrances. But for now, I'm just gonna keep at it, and yeah.